Morning, everybody. 8:06 a.m., June 17th. Welcome to my channel. Yesterday was an interesting day. Tech was weak yesterday, and there wasn't a lot of dip buying to be had. Now we're still in rollover. So typically, it's probably a little red flag how the market moved yesterday. Typically, you don't roll over like it did, technically, but anything can happen all the time. I had a couple of a stab at a long that I really liked in the morning. I had an initial excursion on that trade, and then I got stopped out. And then I had another long that was working, and I got stopped break even. And then I had one more long, which I thought we might get a FOMC like de-risk rally, and that thing literally shot up and looked like it was gonna break out. And I was contemplating, man, this really needs to move here. And then it stopped me. And that was, like I said, typically, I understand why, we could roll over because tech was weak, but we had an unfilled gap below us. But there was demand there, and that's the one thing. The gap, I guess, wanted to get filled a little bit. It's unfilled. And I really had a lot of support, if you could see it here. Why I held on to it. I know I could have reduced my risk. But if you look at the SPY here, now Nasdaq was relatively weak, you can see it, right? But look what the SPY was doing. Once that move was happened on a pullback, I got long, and we were just holding. The previous days I was holding and holding and keep pushing up. It kept pushing up, and I was like, all it needs is one lift up to start taking out this, and it couldn't do it. It just couldn't do it. I mean, I was seeing it internally in here. I was seeing it. This was not favorable, right? And that's why if it was to push up there, I was going to go to break even because I knew, but it was like at my entry and it was just past it and it looked like it was going to break out. Like each time it came up here, like right here, right? But that's trading, right? Not everything goes according to the way you think it's going to go. It just doesn't work like that, right? We're in rollover week, so that's what happened yesterday. Now today we have FOMC. Typically, sometimes in the mornings, you can get a trade or two off, but then it dies waiting for FOMC at 2 p.m. So that's what we're kind of dealing with today. Okay. Um, so we do have an unfilled gap below us still in both markets. The gap was so huge. And then we have that new week opening gap that's still there as well. So there's still a little poor structure that we can clean up to the downside. Okay, there's still a clean structure, a poor structure. I'm sorry. All right, let's see. So let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. Use market profile and buying profile to find structure of markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. That's how I come up with game plans. Now, once that market opens up, I use my market internals to see where money flows are going, along with my gamma flip points, which delineate positive and negative gamma. Give away that for free. Weekly expected move. Give away that for free on my Discord for Thinkorswim. All right, little ICT smart money in there, but basically my own proprietary trading system. Now, every morning I do this. Hopefully, you subscribe, set that alert, give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar, technical analysis, and I always give you the long and short trade scenarios of NASDAQ and the ES futures later on in the stream. If you want more in depth coverage, you're going to go to my Discord. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Now, moving on to the futures. Okay. Crude is actually up a little bit today. All right. It is up 0.64. Nasdaq's up 0.48. 10-year yield is up 0.45. Dollar's up 0.13. Russell's up 0.11. ES basically flat. Dow's flat. Silver flat. 30-year bonds being sold slightly. Gold down 0.27. VIX down 0.49. Bitcoin is down 1.30%. Ethereum down 1.81. All right. Now, kind of muted because of FOMC. Okay. Now, AMD up 2.60%, Broadcom up 1.82. Those are the leaders today. Now we have a bunch of little laggards here. Google down 0.47, Microsoft down 0.47, Meta's down 0.54, over a half percent. Tesla's down 0.69, Coinbase down 0.87. Top sectors here. Micron is going to report earnings soon. Okay, they're up 2.77. Yesterday they had a nice bearish. Now I didn't see if it ended with a bearish engulfing candle. I was like, ooh, I might take a stab there. But then I was like, oop, earnings are coming. So I didn't. That's hands off. Qualcomm up 1.18. All right. Now lagging on this list is Walmart down 0.38. Palantir down 0.7. Now Palantir, if you look at that chart, it's really at a support level here. It's just that I don't know how bullish I can be right now, right? Oracle down 0.92. Sectors. Semiconductors getting a lot of love today. Up almost 2%. Technology up like 0.83, right? So after the day, yesterday, which, be honest with you, it was not a very like weak day overall. It wasn't like, whoa, this is crazy weakness. It was really just tech, right? So who's lagging today? Very small because it's FOMC day. I mean, really, communications down 0.17. That's not much. Okay. Now, let's get into the economic calendar. So the economic calendar for today, we have 30-year mortgage came out. It was the same as previous. All right, we have retail sales coming at 8:30. We have pending home sales at 10 a.m. Okay, then 2 p.m. Fed, the Fed, FOMC, expecting 3.75, previous 3.7, so expecting nothing, unchanged. Then 2:30, our new Fed chair, Kevin Warsh, I think that's his name's Kevin, is going to speak at 2:30. Curious to see what he says. So that's what's going on today as far as economic data. So, Nasdaq, I mean, there's really not much news this morning. I don't see anything here. Looks like Trump was talking. Okay. I mean, I'm surprised some of this is not in red, but the U.S. is not having a fund to invest in Iran. The Iran MOU is not final. I don't like what I see. We'll strike again. Surprised that maybe that did take down the markets at one point a little bit. Okay, let's look at Trump's schedule today. Let's see here, because these are all 9:30 a.m. local. He's participating in a working session at the market open. He's participating in a working session with G7 leaders. A meeting with the president of Arab Republic of Egypt. So he's meeting a lot in Geneva, I guess. Or he's not in Geneva. I think he's in France. All right. This might be a little clearer here. Trump and Macron dinner. Okay. I don't. At 2 p.m. looks like Trump as a wow. While the FOMC comes out, he's going to be in a press conference. All right, on Iran. So that, my friends, I do not want to be in the market at 2 o'clock. Okay. Look at some news here. Fed Warsh-led Fed expected to hold interest rates steady. We know that. U.S. SEC poised to allow stock token trading and potential market shakeup. Goldman Sachs shatters deal-making records with $1 trillion in the first half M&A volume. Oracle says details in report of failed Microsoft Cloud deal talks inaccurate. Okay. Now it says S&P 500 and Nasdaq futures edged higher as chip stocks rebounded ahead of the first interest rate decision under new Fed Chair Kevin Warsh. The central bank is expected to hold rates steady and signal a less accommodative stance as it grapples with inflation pressures from high oil prices linked to Middle East tensions. Investors will watch Warsh's press conference for the views on inflation, unemployment, and economic outlook. Okay. I just wanted to see if there's anything outstanding here. No. Okay. So let's go to some readings here. Let's go to my little spread here. Do I need to refresh this? Guess I did. All right, let's go to my little spread. And let's add the S&P. Okay, and we're going to put it back to a line chart. All right, so that spread yesterday. Remember, when this goes up, the market usually goes down. So we were starting to go back to a stock picker's market, right? And then yesterday, we moved up a little bit, which always moves the market down. That's how basically this little spread works. Okay, when this pulls down, the market moves up, right? When it starts to revert, the market moves down, right? So I'm just watching it. You know, if you look at the dispersion index, that's a pretty good high. We went back down a little bit, okay? But today's FOMC. Now, as far as core 3M by on its own, look at that. It went back down. Right? That just means that the market, the top 50 market cap stocks, are just doing their own thing. They're not working together. Okay. Now, we look at some breadth. Let's look at the is this 20-day? 66% over the 20-day. Okay. 66%. Now we'll move over to a couple other breadth charts here. We'll just look at the S&P 500. That improved yesterday, 60% on buy signals. NDX, what do we got? 55 on buy signals, very middling, right? And let's just see tech. Tech probably went down yesterday. Yeah, went down to 53, not that much, okay? So really still kind of middling, okay? Really nothing to note here. Morning, Chief. Yes, Columbia tonight. Late game tonight, Chief. 10 p.m. 10 p.m. My eyes are going to be bleeding. 10 p.m. Against Uzbekistan. Okay. Let's move on to market internals. Okay. Now, I forgot to tell you guys, I'll get into it in a second. There was a trade that I was mentioning when I was live, and I was like, oh, that I would love to see here. And I was actually writing up my internals, my market update on my Discord while it went, and that's just my fault, while it went to the part where I wanted to get short. And that would have turned my day around, right? I'll get to that in a second. Okay. Market internals. All right. So tech was the story yesterday, down 2.5% from the open. Okay. And it was just getting worse the whole day. You had little shoots of green, but that's pretty hard when tech. See, the market wasn't all weak. Now, when the market opened, all 5 sectors were green. And now I was in my long. And I was like, oh boy, this is going to look real nice. And then it made a downturn, right? And then it just bled lower. This was not monster selling. It just wasn't. Okay. It just was not. It was a grind lower. Okay. Even overall here, these numbers are not very bearish. Okay. Hence why I'm just taking a stab at a long. These just were not. Yes, this is weak, but this market wasn't like panic selling. Okay. So that is that. Now, as far as the trade that I was talking about, I'm going to see if I can show you in a better way here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to show you exactly. And like I said, I'm stating this so obvious to me. Okay. So I'm going to show you right here. Boom. This is a 5-minute chart. All right, I'm going to show you guys the trade that I should have took. Okay, I don't regret my longs. It's I should have took this trade. Okay, let me just get my marker out. I'm going to show you exactly, and I stated this right in my community when I was live. I was like, that's the area you have to look for. I wanted to be short. Okay, that was my preferred um, position. Okay, so when we came down here, okay, so you see we ranged, right? Came down, basically almost hit the previous day's lows, right? Right here is a low volume node. I said 7621 is going to be all about what we do there. And see, there's even a supply zone right here. Okay, now what else was in your favor on this chart, right? At the time, there was a trend line. Okay, let me see if I can, I think it was right there. Oh, sorry. Let me do that again. I want to make sure that I'm putting the right trend line on here because it hit it to the tick. Maybe on this chart, it's not giving me, I don't know if there's a wick there. 1 second, I don't want to take too much time. No, forget it. But on a 1-minute chart, this was exactly to a downtrend, and it came up here. Let's just go to the 1 minute. Let's just go to the 1 minute. This is going to be right here. I'll show you. Okay. There's that 7621 right here. I'm sorry, right here. No, Jesus, I'm all screwed up here. Right here, right? That, and then it gave you another shot. Gave you another shot right up in here. You could have shorted it, but that was really the key here. And then it just proceeded. Right here, I'm sorry. This is a 1-minute chart. There's where it was, right here. I'm sorry. So let me see if I can make this smaller so you can see my volume profile with that. Yeah, right here. Okay, this is what I wanted to show you on the 1-minute chart. That right there, I was writing up in my Discord, and I was like, ooh, if it comes back there, I want to be short. Well, that was it. I wouldn't have gotten that whole move because I would have probably been out around here. Okay, but that's the one I passed, and I saw that, and I said, oh, that was it. That was the short. As I was like writing up my report, I was like, let me see it come up here again, and it did. And that's just trading. Okay, I just wanted to share that with you. All right, I just wanted to share that with you. So basically, when it hit there, it just grinded though, and then you did have this descending triangle. That is bearish, right? That support held, and it couldn't lift off. It just couldn't do it. Okay, so that's that little trade. Spent a little more time than I wanted to on that trade. Okay, let's get right into daily charts. Okay. Let's get into daily charts. Okay. Okay. So prior to this move, look, we took out the prior day's lows. This was just same size, two daily same size candles for a while. And I was like, all right, this probably is going to go back up, but it didn't. Okay. It didn't. The big gap here. Okay. So it wasn't really, I wasn't looking at that yesterday and going, oh my God, we're falling out of bed. I did not at all. Not at all. Okay. Not at all. Where we are today, 751s, we are hanging out towards the lower end of yesterday's range. We are. Okay. Futures. Okay. Now remember I talked about this daily supply zone. It's giving the market problems. Remember I talked about this yesterday. I said there's a daily supply. Look at that. Lower high. Lower high. Okay. We'll have to see. Daily supply zone. Very strong. Okay. Very strong. Each time we come in here, we can't seem to take it out, right? So mark that on your chart. All right. Mark it on your chart. Now, let's go to Q's. Q's had a worse day. Look at that candle. Oof. Right? Look at that candle. All right. Now, where are we now? 734s. So because tech is relatively stronger this morning, we are closer to the midpoint of yesterday, but a little to the lower third. All right. Look at futures. Let's look at futures. Two kind of equal sessions, right? And now we kind of like didn't sweep these lows and we're just kind of middling, okay? And we are above last week's range, right? There's last week's highs. We hit last month's highs. Okay, so that's what's going on there. All right, now we can move on to hourly charts. All right, here's our hourlies. Alrighty. So what I have drawn here, okay, this is your ES, all right, is we have a big unfilled gap. We filled it a little bit yesterday. Okay, but notice we couldn't take out this demand zone. Okay, and we're in this little wedge, right? Price is compressing. So now below, let's call it the 75.80s, this market can really take a downturn because there's poor structure below the 75.80s. There's the unfilled gap. There's a bullish fair value gap. There's a new week opening gap below that. Oh, wait a minute. I got to fix that. Hold on. Let me fix that. That is to here. Okay. A lot of unfilled gaps below us. Now, today's FOMC. So I'd say one thing, okay, is that I would say that there's a lot of overhead supply. Okay, there's a lot of overhead supply. So not an easy time for the market to rip up. Okay, but what can happen today? Last FOMC was very, very uneventful. It didn't have the wide swings that it usually has. I could tell you right now, if we stay in this area, it's probably going to take care of all of this and all of this. It does it a lot. It could take care of all the unfilled gap and be like, well, there you go. We'll see. Okay, we'll see. Right now, I'd have to lean right now to probably a short. So any bounce up here, I'd probably lean on it. Okay, I put an anchored VWAP from this high, and it's holding. All right, I also have an anchored VWAP. Oh, do I? Am I lying? I did have one from that low, but it's not really there. Okay, but right now, this is our month-to-date anchor VWAP. See how it's flattened out for this month? It's flat, right? So buyers are in control, but it's flattened out. So here we are. And the new week, the week-to-date anchor VWAP, notice it's right on Sunday's opening gap. That's where buyers are. Now they're underwater. Okay? So like I said, I think you could get, it's FOMC, so I don't know how big of a move you get. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you do get a move, but then like it gets de-risked before FOMC. Sometimes you do. You're like, wow, I didn't think we get this before. Sometimes we do. Okay. Nasdaq. Remember, Nasdaq's relatively strong. It's relatively strong. And you can see here, I have an anchored view up from these buyers. It is here. Okay. I have an anchored view up from these sellers. It is here. All right. You can see resistance from that anchored view up. Remember, this is the weekly data anchor view up. Also, sellers are in control of the week. All right, it's red. Sellers are in control. Now, we fell pretty hard in the NASDAQ. So there is some poor structure up here. Okay, I think the easier short is probably ES. We just have to see, right? There's some supply right here. You have thicker supply in ES than you do the NASDAQ. You really do, because you have some fast moving poor structure up here. Okay, so we'll have to see. That's your NASDAQ. All right, now we're going to move on to the market profile and volume profile. We'll wrap things up. So here's your market profile and volume profile. So what I'm seeing here right off the bat, okay, this is why I love looking at the charts like this, okay? So let's look at this, and we'll start off with the ES long and short trade scenarios, okay? This is not going to be easy, all right? But what I'm seeing here, and it all depends on what happens here, but the first thing that comes to what I'm looking at this is we swept yesterday's lows right here, and then we came back up, okay? This would make me feel we possibly could be headed towards the overnight highs and maybe the 7630s, right? But that goes against where I think the easiest play is a short. I'm just going on here. We swept these lows, right? And we came back into range. So we'll see. I don't know. That could signify shorts are kind of done. New shorts have to come in to make this market go down. We'll see. I don't know. All right. Let's break the session out. Okay. Let's break the session out. Like I said, there's a lot of overhead supply in the ES. There just is. Now you do have the unfilled gap and poor structure below us. Remember I said that 75-80 area, you have to really be on watch for that. Okay, so let's get into scenarios. I'm going to start where I'm going to lean short. Okay, now, number one is I think what I would like to happen is push up right into the 76.13s. That's most traded price of yesterday. A little above the 50% retracement of yesterday, and you have a heavy supply zone here. Two of them. Okay. Any rejection of the 76.13 and retest the 76.13s, you want to go short. Okay. And you want to target yesterday's lows, 75.81s, the overnight lows, 75.78s. If you take this out, this demand here, there's also demand. If you take that out, I think you could start rolling here. Now, again, it's FOMC, so the probabilities of a big sell-off are low, but I've seen it happen. You could take the Bolshevika app here and go all the way down. You got a prior, what is that? Prior last week's highs is 75.52. That would probably be some profit taking happening there. You just such a huge gap to work off. I don't know if we can go all the way down to the 75.25s. Okay. But that could be a nice trade before FOMC. Okay. I don't know if that's going to happen, of course. Okay. Now, another trade, and I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it's viable. If we really quickly shot up to the 76.30s, the most traded price of the week, and let's say there's supply here, right? We try to come up here, fail, retest the 76.30s. Okay. Then you're going to target 75.82s. If we go up that high, I would think that this might not fall through the floor. Okay. So I would say that's about it. Now, you can find a short If you were to take out the demand zone here, and that demand zone spans from 75.87s to 75.75s, okay? If you took that out, then you need to find acceptance down here to then maybe get a pullback to short. That's a little harder. That is your trade location won't be as good, but it's viable. Okay, now longs. Okay, we know we have a little sweep of the prior day's high. Okay, now the only interested longs that I'll be in, obviously, is that I don't really want to go long again when tech's super weak. Okay, but if it's not weak, let's say we come down here, sweep the overnight lows, right? Have a little V bottom recovery, lower high. That's a long, and you're going to target the overnight high, 76.12, which is also yesterday's most traded price in the weekday anchor VWAP. Okay. Now I'll go as far as if it really quickly goes down to this bullish fair value gap. The bullish fair value gap is from 75.69 to 75.61. If you find support there, okay, let's say right in the middle of it, that's a long, that's bullish, and that might be the de-risk for FOMC, and you go up to 76.13. Okay, there's a lot of overhead supply, so it's not going to be easy for the market to move higher. Okay, it's just not. Let's move on to the NASDAQ. Remember, the NASDAQ's been relatively stronger this morning. Semis are up 2.36%. Okay. Micron and AMD, Broadcom are all up. Okay. Let's move on to NASDAQ. Okay. So the NASDAQ did the same thing. Now, the NASDAQ, right off the bat, to me, has an easier way to go up. Okay. Structurally, the NASDAQ has an easier way to get in along. The ES does not. Now, don't get me wrong, they're correlated, but you want to take the easier path. Okay? So, let's start the NASDAQ long or short trade scenarios. Let's break out the session. Okay? You don't have as much heavy overhead supply as you do in the ES. That's why I said it's going to be easier long. And especially if semis keep this buying up, right? We'll have to see. All right. So, in this scenario, we're still going to start off with the shorts. Okay. Currently at yesterday's most traded price. Okay. Now, I didn't mention this. We're almost 100% net long in the overnights, but we're not at the top. If we're at the top, I'd be like, ooh, that could be a nice short. I'm just notable. Overnight, almost everybody's long. It's notable. Okay. So if I want to be short, what am I going to look for? Well, if we push higher, right, you have a supply zone that lines up with the overnight highs, and it lines up with 50% retracement of yesterday's session. If we come up here and sweep that 305.84s to 305.92s, come back inside the overnight session, put a lower high, and you short that, okay, you're going to target yesterday's lows, 302.94s. Okay, 302.94s. Now there's a high volume node here, and it also starts that gap that we fully haven't filled. If we break that and hold under the 302.73s, we hold that, this could really fall. All right, you have last week's highs here at 301.42s. Yeah, you could really go and fill that gap. Let's just call it around the 319s. And maybe we bounce to FOMC from there. Okay. The other alternative is if you want to be conservative, you got to wait for all this to get taken out, find acceptance here, find the retest of, let's say, the overnight lows of 302.73s, then try to short and target the month to date anchor view up is also at 300.40. Okay, I don't know if this happens, but it would clean up all of that structure. Okay, I don't like anything above the midpoint of yesterday for shorts, meaning acceptance above it. Okay, longs, longs. Now, it's all about my internals today, what they're going to tell me. Okay, so if we find ourselves selling off, I want it to be quick. I want it to be quick. Okay. If we take out the yesterday's lows and the overnight lows and we start to hold and we V bottom here, boop, back into range, lower high. And let's say the market is not that weak at this point. Now remember, that's why I say quick. That's a long. Okay. You're going to target the overnight highs, 305.84s, and see if you can hold a runner because there's some poor structure up here. And maybe you can go all the way up to the 307.60s. Or, I didn't even realize this, ultimate balance. We're in ultimate balance here. So basically 308.35s is the most traded price of the month and the most traded price of the week. Okay. We are below that area. So structurally, it is a little bearish, not in the big scheme, but in the near term. Okay. In the near term. Okay. So that's one. Now the difference in the Nasdaq is there is a long that I don't like in the ES, but I like in the Nasdaq. So right here, let's say if you take out the overnight highs and the 50% retracement of yesterday. Here's the week to date anchor view up. And let's say you start to just hold and hold and hold, find acceptance. That's where a pullback to get long, you could target the 307.60 and then maybe ultimate balance. I said the 308.35 area. Okay. That's it for me, folks. All right. Now, let me give you my overall market outlook. ES, I believe the short is the easier play. Okay, the short is the easier play. We have FOMC, so I'm not expecting fireworks, but sometimes it happens. Nasdaq, I think, could go either way, and it has an easier way to go up. It all depends on where money flows are off the open. So really all comes down to, I usually don't care about FOMC. I don't really trade it, so I'll be hands off probably at 11:30. I just, for the rest of the day, I take the day off, watch World Cup. Okay. Now, that's it for me. Smash the like button if you enjoyed that analysis. Okay. Now, every morning I do this. Please come subscribe. All right. Set an alert. Give you the market story, the market news, technical analysis. Just gave you the long, short trade scenarios in the ES and the NASDAQ futures. All right. Now, if you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Now, everybody, I hope you have a great day. Remember, no trade's a trade. Hope you follow your process. All right. We have our plan. Hopefully, I see you in my room. I should go live around 9:45 a.m. If I don't see you,